Paradigms control the results in your life. They have the power over everything. Relationships, your income. And you know, when you shift your paradigm, everything in your life improves. Hello, I'm Bob Proctor, and I want to welcome you to Paradigm Shift, where we're going to teach you how to make dramatic improvements in the quality of your life, in every aspect of your life. You know, paradigm shifting is something that we should teach in school. We should teach it to little kids, and they'd get it, and then they'd have a charmed life. If you want to improve the results, the paradigm has to be shifted. You know, Eric Hoffer one time said, no matter what our achievements might be, we think well of ourselves only in rare moments. We need people to bear witness against our inner judge, who keeps book on our shortcomings and transgressions. We need people to convince us that we are not as bad as we think we are. You know, Eric Hoffer was a wise man, and I think that he hit the nail right on the head here. Who do you think that inner judge is? You know, that little voice inside that's telling you, you can't do this or you can't do that. You can't do many of the things you say you want to do. Well, I suppose the real secret is figuring out what you want to do and then understand clearly how to get rid of that little voice inside. Now, I don't know as we ever completely get rid of it. I refer to it as the monkeys in our mind that keep talking to us, telling us what we can't do. But I do know this, that we can overpower them. We can take control over the quality of our life. You know, winning and losing have been taught about for, I guess, as far back in recorded history as you can go. And there are some people, they're just winners. You see it, you see what they do. It doesn't matter what they seem to do. You knew kids like this when you were in school. They aced all the exams. Quite frankly, I never liked those kids very well. And for good reason. They made me look worse than I even was. But why is it that some people are always winning and others are always losing? Well, you'll say they're just stupid, but that's not true. That's not true. Do you know that some of the people that are losing are absolutely brilliant? It's true. And some of the people who are winning are not very bright at all. Do you know that there's people who are absolutely brilliant and they're broke? And there's others who are functionally illiterate. They can neither read nor write, but they can sign a check for $1 million. I remember one time at a meeting in Chicago, W. Clement Stone. This was back in 1970, and in 1970, he was the wealthiest man in the United States. He made a lot of grammatical errors when he spoke, but as Earl Nightingale said, he can write a check for $1 billion. Now think about that for a moment. Why is it that someone never goes to school, they're not very polished, and yet they're enormous winners, and other people they have degrees coming right off the end of their business card, and they just can't seem to make it? Why? Well, you know, most people just set that aside, and they think there isn't an answer to it. Well, I'm going to tell you there is an answer to it. And it's an answer that everyone can understand. And I believe when we understand it, everything in our life starts to change. You see, I was one of those people that was always losing. Didn't matter what I did from the time I was a little kid in school until I was 26. Didn't matter what I did. It just didn't work out right. I was never part of the group that was making it happen. And then all of a sudden, just like that, my whole world started to change. And I started to win. Didn't matter what I did, what I touched. It just seemed to turn to gold. What happened? Well, that's what I want to know. And I couldn't figure out what happened. You know, I knew I wasn't lucky. I seemed to have an innate awareness inside that there wasn't any such thing as luck, regardless of how much you want to believe it. And I thought, someone has to know what the heck happened to me. Now, a man named Ray Stanford suggested I read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I have become an avid student of Napoleon Hill and his mentor, Andrew Carnegie. I have never laid these books down. I have never stopped studying them. But at any rate, I picked them up and everything started to change. Changed like night and day. Then I got into Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of Napoleon Hill's book. And I started to listen to that record. Now, I was doing something that was very, very strange. No one else was doing it. I was driving around with a portable record player that operated on flashlight batteries, listening to a long playing record. Now, you might not even know what a record is. They're so long gone. But I was driving around playing them. And I was playing the same record over and over and over again. And I kept reading this same book over and over and over again. In fact, it was the first book I ever read. Now, I have a wonderful library of books in my home today. I have 3,000 or 4,000 books. But this was the first book I read, and I couldn't seem to lay it down. I have never stopped reading that book. And I kept listening to this record. Now, what I was doing, I was writing a new program for my life. It was so totally strange what I was doing. People really couldn't understand it. I didn't understand it myself. They were wondering what was happening to me. But you know, I was moving from the category of losing to the category of winning. I wasn't getting sick anymore. I had an abundance of energy. I could make money. I think earning money is probably one of the simplest things in the world to do when you learn how to earn it. But until you learn how to earn it, it's not one of the simplest things in the world to do. Well, why is it that some win and some lose? And it's got nothing to do with intelligence. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your background. You know, you could have a brilliant background and still lose. You could have a terrible background and still win. As a matter of fact, I started to teach this around 38 years ago, and I was testing this in different areas. I even used to go into prisons and teach this. I had people that were paroled to me, where I had them tear up the parole so that they'd get a passport and I could take them off to another country where we were opening a business. And I found that it didn't matter who you were or what had gone on in the past, you could win. You could be young, you could be old. You could be male or female. You may be an intellectual giant, or maybe not very bright at all. None of those things have anything to do with winning. Now, most people will tell you they do. I think they can contribute, but they certainly don't control it. Paradigms are going to make you or break you. And it's a strange thing. The average individual couldn't even tell you what a paradigm is. Now, understand this. It's your choice whether they make you or break you. It's your choice. But here's another point. There is absolutely no allowance for ignorance. You say, but I don't understand. That's too bad. You still lose. I want you to think of something that not too positive, but a little baby. You hear them falling out of windows and off balconies. The babies don't stay suspended in space until somebody comes along that understands the law of gravity. That law that states anything heavier than air is attracted towards the center of the world. That baby goes down and gets hurt or killed. You'd say, but the baby doesn't understand. It's too bad. There is no allowance for ignorance. Well, there's laws of this universe. The whole universe operates by laws. Dr. Werner von Braun said that the natural laws of this universe are so precise that we don't even have any difficulty today building spaceships. We can send people to the moon, and we can time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. He also said these laws must have been set by someone. He said after studying the spectacular mysteries of the universe, he was led into a firm belief in the existence of God. Now, here's a scientist, one of the most brilliant in the world, the father of the space program. Well, you see, God operates by laws. Everything operates in precise order. And you know something? You've got a control mechanism in you, but you were given the ability to control it. That's right. Now, somebody else may have programmed you, but you've got the ability to change it. So it's your choice whether your paradigm makes you or breaks you. You see, I was losing till I was 26. And then all of a sudden I started to do things right and I started winning. Now, what I was doing, I didn't know. People asked me what I was doing, and I really couldn't tell them. Here's another strange thing I've learned. Most people that are highly successful cannot articulate why they are. I was doing a seminar in New York a number of years ago at the Waldorf Astoria. And a man come up to me at the end of the seminar, great big guy. And he said, you know, he said, I've really enjoyed this. He was in there for 2 or 3 days. He said, I finally understood what I did. And I said, what'd you do? He said, I won the gold medal in the decathlon in the Olympics. The day that he won that medal, he was the greatest athlete in the world, Milt Campbell. Now, he had never understood what he did, but he became the best in the world at what he did. Do you know that you can become the best in the world at what you do? And I'm going to tell you, you're going to do it a lot easier than Milt did it because you can understand it. We're going to go into paradigms. This is a series of programs. We're going into paradigms. I'm going to talk about how they've been built and how they've been changed. And as you go into this, a lot of it's going to seem repetitious, but that's how paradigms are built. That's why repetition is necessary. And we've got to the point we just want to read it once. You're never going to understand it if you read it once. You've got to go over it and over it and over it. I think it was Hubbard said, when you read a good book through the second time, you don't see something you didn't see before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. So let's think about this. You've got a control mechanism inside you. It's in your marvelous mind. And it's going to determine whether you win or lose, whether you're struggling to make ends meet or whether you live in abundance. And this information's always been around. It's just that there's only a very select few that have had it. It's almost like a secret. Earl Nightingale called it the strangest secret. He said it was strange because it was a secret, because it's so obvious. Do you know you can go into the most ancient writings there is? You can go into the Upanishads. And in the Upanishads it says, from abundance, he took abundance, and still abundance remained. Now think about that for a moment. Do you know that you're dealing with an infinite source of supply? There's no limit to what you're capable of doing. It is an infinite source of supply. I love the way Troward wrote it. He said, when you're dealing with the infinite, you can never take more than your share. So don't worry about taking too much. You can have all you want. It's what we do with it that makes the difference. You can't hold on to it. You can't keep it. As a matter of fact, if you try and keep it, you'll lose it. It's really a paradox, isn't it? But you know something? If you understand the laws, it's not. If you understand the laws, you'll understand that you're sort of a distributor of this power. You have co-creative abilities. You've got phenomenal powers locked up within you. Now, what are paradigms? You know, we're talking about the paradigm shift. There's a series of shows on it. Well, what are paradigms? Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. You're literally programmed, and it's habits that programs you. You see, you were taught how to tie your shoes. But you weren't taught just once how to tie your shoes. You had to be taught over and over and over. Watch a little boy or a little girl trying to tie their shoes. You'll never see anything more awkward. But you know something? Eventually they get it right. They are very slow and methodical. They're meticulous, but they get it done. And they are so proud. Now, when you and I tie our shoes, we can be talking to somebody and do it, not even paying attention to what we're doing. It's a habit. It's part of the programming. You see, the programming is everything. Now, the programming that we received has been given to us from other people. They're not our ideas. We inherited them. That's why we speak the language we speak. That's why we do the things we do. It's why we treat people the way we treat them. Now, think about this. Everything is programmed into a habit. Your body is like a computer. It's just like a computer terminal. It'll only do what it's programmed to do. If you're trying to do PowerPoint on something that hasn't got a PowerPoint program, you're never going to get it. If you go onto a computer that has power, easily to build the PowerPoints. See, it all has to do with programs. And we have people write programs. We think they're pretty brilliant. They're techies. Well, you know something? You're a techie. You're pretty brilliant. And you can write a program. And you can write the program that's going to give you the life you want. There's nothing complicated about it. Do you know what you have to do? You have to get rid of the old program. That's right. And because you can't put something where something already is. Now, if you're sitting on a chair, understand this. You can't put anything where you and the chair are until you move it. Nature abhors a vacuum. You've got to create a space for the good that you desire. So we've got to create a space for the good that we desire in our life. Now, take a look at what is holding most people back. It's paradigms. They're locked into old paradigms. You could say, what's holding me back? You know, I would imagine you probably work pretty diligently at whatever you're doing. Stop and think of the person that's playing golf. Do you know, most people that play golf never take lessons. They don't. They go out there and they just figure out that they're going to go and do it. Can you imagine learning how to fly a plane without taking lessons? I don't think so. If I was going to get in a plane that you got in, I would want to go to the very best pilots in the world, and I'd want them to show me how to do it. Why don't we do that with everything? Why don't we do that with earning money? Do you know, I have people come to seminars from all over the world so that we can show them how to earn money. Earning money is easy to do. I believe if you haven't got multiple sources of income, you're missing the mark. You should have more sources of income than you can keep track of. You can hire somebody to keep track of them for you. And then you're earning more money and you can do more things and you can have a more interesting life. But if we're going to learn anything, we're going to have to get somebody to teach us. Now, short of that, I was remembering one time I was teaching a seminar in Indiana, and I said, there's always someone that can do things better than you're doing them. And this man said, there isn't anybody in the world that does what I'm doing better than I do it. And I thought, well, I've got an interesting one here in my hands. And it turned out he was right. He built those remote control model planes. He had the biggest company in the world. He used to take them, he was in Chicago, he used to take them down to Wrigley Field and demonstrate them. You see? Well, I had been reading the night before what to do. Thomas Stroward said that in that case, you go to the Fonte Rigo, you go to the fountain and source within. I think that's where Bill Gates went. I think that's where the Wright brothers went. I think that's where Edison went. I think that's where Einstein went. And I think that's where you and I should go when we run up against something that we can't solve and there's no one that we can find that can help us fix it. But if we want to learn things, let's get our ego out of the road and let's understand that we've got the intelligence to learn anything we want to learn. But we're going to have to go to a good teacher. Now, I was talking about money a few minutes ago. If you want to learn how to earn money, go to someone that knows how to. Don't go to your next-door neighbor. He probably doesn't know any more than you do. When you watch golfers, you'll see them out there, you know, they're talking to each other. None of them know how to golf. And they spend an absolute fortune. They buy new clubs, they buy new balls, they go to new, and trying to break 100, they're ready to throw the clubs away. Why not go to a pro? You know, just the slightest shift in your hand, and that ball will go out like a clothesline. But if you don't make that shift, that ball is going to go right into the water. And isn't it strange, if you think it's going to go into the water, it'll go in the water? Do you know that the image you hold in your mind controls the chemical makeup of your body? Jack Nicklaus calls that going to the movies. Well, most people are held back in whatever they're doing by old paradigms. Now, yeah, paradigms influence your thinking. They influence my thinking. My paradigm influences my thinking. Yours influence you. Now, if you want to change your way of doing things, you're going to have to override the paradigm, and that's not an easy thing to do, and it can be scary. It can cause a lot of discomfort. Paradigms control what you do. So if you're going to change what you do, you have to make up your mind you're going to override the paradigm. Now, I want you to think of this for a moment. Feeling is a word that we've invented to describe our conscious awareness of the vibration we're in. This thing we're living in is a molecular structure. It's a mass of molecules and a very high speed of vibration. When it's in a positive vibration, we feel good. When it's not in a positive vibration, we feel bad. Positive and negative are a law. It's part of a law of opposites, a law of polarity. Well, what we want to do is we want to feel good. The vibration is controlled by the paradigm. Now, a person can be getting good results and feel pretty comfortable. You can be comfortable getting bad results. As a matter of fact, that's one of the tricky parts of this. If you're going to overcome the paradigm, you've got to do things that cause discomfort. Change the grip on your golf club. I guarantee you're going to feel very awkward. And yet that ball, boom, boom, away it goes. 250, 300 yards. You wonder, how did that happen? It felt so uncomfortable. Whenever you go to change an idea in your paradigm, you're going to set up a foreign vibration, and that causes discomfort. Now, can you change the paradigm? Absolutely, you can change the paradigm. You can change anything. God gave you complete control over your life. Now, you don't do it by yourself. You do it in harmony with God, working with God's laws. Well, how do you do it? Well, I always say there's a simple three-step process to it. Just a simple three-step process. Let's talk on one. You know, as you go to do this, you're going to find that you got to make a written statement in the present tense describing exactly how you're living. Now, that's right. And you may not like the way you're living. You've got to describe all aspects of your life. Leave nothing out. Now, think about this. You don't be reluctant to get down and write some of the negative. If there's things you don't like, don't sweep them under the rug. This is where you've got to take a look exactly like it is. It's like Ray Stanford told me. He says, Bob, you've got to look at it the way it is. I was unhappy, sick, and broke. He made me recognize it. If you don't recognize the problem, you're never going to change it. So you've got to sit down and write out the problem or your life in complete detail, in every detail you can. And then, that's the way it is. Then you take another sheet of paper. On the top of that sheet of paper, put A. Then take another sheet of paper, and the top of it, put B. And now, on the B list, I'm going to suggest that you make a statement, a written statement in the present tense. I always recommend you start by writing, I am so happy and grateful now that. And describe how you want to live, exactly how you want to live. This is going to take a little time. You're not going to do this in 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, you may take a couple of days. You may take a couple of weekends. If you're married, you might want to do it with your spouse. If you have kids, you might want to get the whole family involved in this. I told you this is strange behavior. The people up and down the street aren't doing this. But you've got to sit down and decide exactly how you want. Now, most people get locked into how they think they could do it. I don't even want you thinking of how you're going to do it. How you're going to do it is irrelevant until you decide to do it. You decide how you want to live. What kind of health do you want to enjoy? What do you want your body to be like? What kind of money do you want to earn? What kind of trips do you want to take? Who do you want to associate with? Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't spend a lot of time with anyone that isn't very positive. I just don't want to be around them. Carl Menninger from the Menninger Foundation one time pointed out, he said environment is more important than heredity. In other words, the people that we surround ourselves with have a greater impact on our life than what's built into the genes. I have a very good friend of mine, Jane Wilhite. You should look her up on the internet. PSI Seminars, PSI Seminars. It's one of the most successful seminar companies in the world. But Jane said one time, she said, I won't mix with anyone that doesn't think I'm special. And I thought, whoa. That's right. She said, I don't want to spend any time mixing with people who don't think I'm special. And then she went on to explain why. She said, if they don't think I'm special, they don't think they're special. She said, I want to mix with people that see the specialness in us. Do you know that we're God's highest form of creation? There's nothing on the planet that'll even come close to you. Well, why would you want to spend time with people that are talking about how bad things are and why they can't do this and why they can't do that? Well, I've come to the point where I don't want to spend time with people like that. Now, I have friends all over the world. I do. I have friends on almost every continent that you can think of. But you know something? They all know how special they are. And so they recognize the specialness in me. And we treat each other that way. I want you to sit down and write out exactly what you want, how you want to live, the kind of home you want to live in, the vacations you want to take, the clothes you want to wear, the people you want to mix with. This is a want list. And understand you don't have to know how it's going to happen. But describe your lifestyle in as much detail as possible. And you're going to find that as you do this, things start to happen. Now, here's the second point. I said there was 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. The second. This is the stumbling block for most people. I want you to sit down and in the present tense, write out your financial situation. Do you know most people don't know what their financial situation is? My wife was a financial planner for a long time and a very good one. She would help people really lay out their finances. In fact, it was one of the reasons that I really loved her so much in the first place, because she showed me how to do it. But you know, the average individual doesn't know what they're worth. I remember a man coming in. He's a man I know. He came in, and he wanted her to help him with his finances. He had a goal of being worth $3 million. The guy was already worth $5 million and didn't even know it. Most people have no idea what they're worth. They have no idea. They really don't. They don't have a balance sheet. I have a good friend of mine that's just written a book, The Millionaire Maker, Laurel Langmeyer. You should buy the book, The Millionaire Maker. I was coaching her when she was working for Chevron for $75,000 a year. She's worth millions of dollars now. She owns over 100 companies, pardon me, not countries, companies, and just taken off like a rocket. But you see, she did this, and she has people do this. You've got to sit down and lay out your financial position in as much detail as you possibly can, what all the debts are, what all the assets are, and then sit down and make a written statement of how you want your finances to be. Now, the first sheet, marked A. The second one is marked B. Now, when you're writing out the statement, how you want your finances to be, begin there by writing, I am so happy and grateful now that. And put it in as much detail as possible. How much money do you want to have? What do you want to be worth? You see, I think everybody wants to have time and money freedom. Now, what does that mean? That means that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. You have time freedom. Keep in mind, we've all got the same amount of time. We get all there is. They have time freedom. They can go wherever they want, whenever they want. Now, if you're going to have time freedom, you're very likely going to have money freedom. You're never going to have to ask, how much does something cost? You don't have to get up in the morning and go to work because you need the money. You're earning money whether you're working or not. Your passive income should take care of your lifestyle. And you can do this. You can set it up like this. Anyone can. It's just that most don't. 1% of the population earns 96% of all the money that's being earned. It's so much out of balance, it's almost ridiculous. I want you to make a written statement. I am so happy and grateful now that, and describe your finances in as much detail as you possibly can. Now we're ready for the third step, and it's a rather interesting step. I want you to write and sign and then read the following commitment every day for the next 90 days. Now, I told you this is a little different, but you're going to program your mind. My signature represents my irrevocable commitment to view this program, to read these positive statements, to make a paradigm shift every day for the next 90 days. Write that in present tense and then sign it. Now, what do you do with it? Here you've got a commitment. You're going to read these positive statements every day. You're going to study this paradigm shift program. You've signed it, and you're going to do this for 90 days. Now I'm going to suggest that you take the A's. Remember that? On number 1, the A sheet was how you're living now. All the negatives, everything written into it. And burn them. Take both of them and burn them. Your present financial position and the way you're living. You've got it all written out. You understand it. You know exactly where you are. And then take the B lists and start to read them. And read them over and over and over again. You know, Goethe, the great German philosopher who's really influenced the thinking of the Western world, he said, before you can do something, you first must be it. See, everything that happens outside has got to happen inside first. Now let's review what we've done. We've gained an understanding that we are literally programmed. We're programmed genetically and environmentally. We've taken a look at our life the way it is. We've decided that we are going to be in the winning category of people. We are going to be very selective about the people that we spend our time with. We're not going to spend a lot of time with people that we don't enjoy and that don't enjoy us. So that even we're not thinking, we get the very best thinking coming into our mind. We're going to sit down and write out our lifestyle the way it is now. All the negative aspects mixed in. Health, wealth, relationships, everything. And then we're going to take another sheet, the B sheet, and we're going to put on there exactly how we want to live. And we're going to write it out, I am so happy and grateful now that. We're going to do that with our finances. We're going to write out where we are at financially, and we're going to write out where we want to be. Now, burn the A list. Burn it. It's symbolic. Literally burn it and let it go away. And then start reading the positive statement about how you're going to live and your finances. Read it over and over and over again. You're going to find it'll work like clockwork. Stay tuned in and learn more on the paradigm shift of how to take control over your life. It's Bob Proctor. Thank you.